Hey all. Well, hey to all of you who might still be lurking around anyway. This is FrozenFoxy here, and I've been away for about 4.5 years now. My heart is actually racing doing this video right now. It's been so long. I don't expect many of you are even left, even though I know that there is at least a few, especially because of Twitter recently. And I kind of want to, I guess, explain myself. Maybe I feel like I kind of owe it all to you in a way. And this honestly isn't going to be short at all in any fashion. And I'm about to bare my soul here. I'm not going to lie, this isn't going to be easy for me to talk about, and it may even be triggering for some people. So this is kind of a warning if you're sensitive. So please take care of yourself, and I'll try to put a timestamp in the description. So if you need to, you can skip ahead to the kind of positive stuff as I get through all this. But yeah, let's get down to it. Let's really dive into this craziness that has been happening. So things for me kind of started to go downhill around 2015. Three people I knew, including someone who was close to me, a mentor of mine, as well as my wife's childhood dog, died all in the same week. It wasn't weeks apart. It was literally just the same week. And I kept trying to roll forward and be positive. I was posting even though I was hitting a pretty bad depressive slump. And I was kind of making videos on fumes. If I think if that were the only things that had happened, then maybe it would have eventually evened out for me and I might have been fine. I don't know. I really don't. But instead of things getting better, it continued a downward spiral after that. My wife and I of the time were growing more and more distant with each other until, unfortunately, she had a miscarriage. And that caused both of us pretty serious mental anguish. It got to the point that I was so full of negative emotions that my mind couldn't cope with it anymore. Something broke in me and fizzled out, and I literally just disassociated terribly. I became an emotional blank and started to question what I was feeling or if I had ever felt anything at all. And it meant that I wasn't there for my wife when she needed me the most. And it tore us down until, in the end, 6 months after I stopped posting videos, we separated and got divorced. And it was ugly. I won't even go into the full details, but I felt even more broken than before. I didn't want to come back to do videos, and I really didn't want to do anything, really. Movies, shows, books, even games weren't fun anymore. I didn't like going out to eat. I didn't like going walking in nature. Travel, which used to be something big for me, it just wasn't fun anymore, and nothing made sense. I kind of threw myself into work and even working out because I was numb and drowning myself and all that time in something mindless to waste it all away was really all I had. Eventually, I talked to someone that I hadn't talked to in probably a year, maybe 2 years. And they told me that they were experiencing some issues of their own and I should come out to a convention several states away to hang out with them and help me get over it. So I did. They hung out with me for all of 5 minutes when I came to the convention. So it wasn't all that gratifying. It didn't help me. I talked to some people that were in the convention chats, and I ended up involved with someone from one of those chats that turned out to be very mentally abusive, but they were someone that I ended up clinging to because I felt like I had nothing else. And even though it was a bad relationship, it actually started to help me open up to the possibility of being able to breathe again and be myself. I eventually invited a roommate into my home for very little money because I was trying to be kind and help someone through a bad situation. Well, she ended up leaving needles all over my carpet and couch. She didn't pay the rent. And it came to a head when I told her that I didn't want any fights between us and I wanted peace and that I wanted her to take some responsibility. Instead of taking that okay, she told me that both her and her friends thought I was an asshole and that I had handled the whole situation wrong. My response to it was, give me the keys and get out. She didn't. She did not give me the keys. She ran out of the place instead of giving me those keys. And a day later came back with a couple of friends and 2 police officers. Her friends with one of the police officers went upstairs and was cleaning out all of her stuff while the other police officer was talking to me and asking me if I had a weapon in the house. And I was like, what the hell is going on? I have no idea. It was very disconcerting. I found out the following day that she had told the police I assaulted her. And I had to deal with them talking to me and feeling really panicked because I thought I was about to end up in jail for doing nothing other than trying to get someone to be responsible who was a roommate and trying to be kind to someone by inviting them into my home. The detective that I talked to assured me that there were so many holes in her story that it didn't make any sense. And I also ended up finding out that my front door security camera that I had gotten because I was alone in the house and scared whenever I was hearing noises because I was on edge and panicking, that it had literally caught her talking to someone on the phone stating that she could yell rape and get me arrested. And I showed that to the police, and that put an end to things with the whole situation. But being an emotional ragdoll, it had really mentally messed with me. And the only other person that I was talking to was mentally abusive, and it was really messing me up. After all of that, someone ended up tearing up a package on my porch and left it in front of my door with some of the items from it stolen and the rest of it strewn around. They keyed my car while I was asleep. They brushed aside the rock salt and poured water on my porch so it was slick in the morning during some kind of winter day. And I nearly slipped and fell when I came outside. So they basically put a hazard right outside my door. And because of that, I put a Ring doorbell outside rather than just the camera to watch the door to make sure no one was coming in, to address my paranoia. And what do I catch on this Ring doorbell but someone literally coming up to my front steps and looking like they're trying to take a dump on my front steps. I was mortified. It's hilarious looking back on it now. It really is. But at the time, it was isolating and scary while it was happening. All the while, I was scared to go anywhere that I would normally hang out, or to even hang out with friends, because those places that I had gone to, those friends I had gone and hung out with, those were people that I was around with my ex-wife, and I didn't know if they had turned on me. I didn't know if I would run into her, which I really didn't want to run into her. And it was lonely. It was very lonely. This is where, even though it's still dark, it kind of gets positive, and where I found some light. At some point, I kind of threw care to the wind, and I started hanging out late night in dark, noisy nightclubs with really loud music, and kind of clinging to these speakers so I could let the bass just drown out everything that I was thinking about. And I started drinking alcohol like a fish. This is not really positive, but I did that to get away from my thoughts at the time. And I started going to the local dispensary because I was in Colorado, and I went to light up and blur my mind and cares away. Eventually, I was chatting with some coworkers about the nightclubs I was hanging out at and the bit of fun that I was finding, and I found out that one of my coworkers was really interested in going out to nightclubs, so we started hanging out. He kind of became the anchor that I needed to weather the storm that I was going through. Quite honestly, we were both in our own awful boats. There was things going on in both of our lives that weren't so great. But because of each other, we started living again. We signed up to jump out of an airplane together. I literally went skydiving with this guy, which is something I never dreamed I would do in my entire life. I went up into the mountains and drove around UTVs with friends. I created a group of people to go and check out new foods around town and hang out and stop being alone, to reach out and stand up and say, I'm not going to fade silently anymore. There was a lot more awful things that happened during all of this, but none so notable as to blot out the positive feelings and the forward movement that I had finally gotten. I got the courage to stand up for myself and cut the abusive person out of my life that had entwined so closely with me for so long. At a pizza party that I ended up throwing for some of the food friends, a girl came along that I hadn't met before, and we hit it off. She had her own awful crap that was going on, but somehow we made it work. It's kind of like that song that, we're both broken, but somehow we're connecting. I think you probably all know what song I'm talking about, more or less. Anyway, I became more adventurous than ever. I learned how to cook pretty decently, which is not something I ever knew, and started trying things out that I had never done before. I ended up applying for a job out of state on the coast, and I somehow ended up getting that job. I left behind my home of nearly 3 decades to be somewhere else entirely. And the girl I had met came along. I don't even know why she decided to come along, but she did. And there's been some really high highs and some very low lows since that time, including the person who originally inspired me to make videos online cutting me off completely. I accept that a lot of that is my fault, and I'm sorry for the mistakes that I've made. The pandemic, it's been scary as hell. And not knowing if I may never talk to someone again a day or two down the road, both family and friends, it's really frightening. 2015 made that real for me before this pandemic even happened. And it's knocking on the door all over again. But through it all, I've become aware of something important to me. I missed making videos. And above all, I missed you guys too. A number of you have told me that I've helped you through some hard times before. And, well, to be honest, you guys have done the same for me, whether you know it or not. Yesterday, maybe the day before, in the middle of the night, I unpacked my microphone. And while I was holding it in my hands, I cried looking at it because I missed this. I missed sharing the things that I enjoyed with you guys. I missed being here. I missed playing games with you all. I don't know how this is going to work or even for how long, but I'm going to try messing around with some games again and maybe slowly see how it goes. I'm rusty as hell and I haven't been playing anything complicated these days, but I'm here again somehow. I want to say to all of you that if you're going through a hard time right now, and I know a lot of you probably are, there's light at the end of your tunnel. No matter how bad it looks, there's light at the end of your tunnel. And I want to give a shout out to the Shadow Cookie, who was a Let's Play friend of mine from way back in the day. And he has still talked to me throughout the years and brightened my spirits. And I also want to shout out to all of the people who put a like on a simple picture of my microphone that I put on Twitter. That was really surprising. I want to give a special shout out to Daniel, a guy also known as Subs. This guy subscribed to me nearly since I started doing videos, and somehow, when I posted that tweet, in a couple of seconds, he liked it. Literally a couple of seconds. I was floored and shocked seeing it. I'll talk to you all later, hopefully with like a game behind me and without trying to hold back crying. Sorry this has been so crazy long, but I'm back, I hope. And I'll see you later. Bye for now.